You are now listening to Dear Dope Chick, a weekly podcast created to inspire and energize women to live life on their own terms. I'm your host, Felicia, and here's today's dose of dope. Dear Dope Chick, welcome and welcome back. I'm so glad that you are here today. I am really excited for today's podcast episode, but I have to ask you, are you up for the challenge of taking action today? Are you ready? For those of you who are new here, Dear Dope Chick is an action-based podcast. So that means that every single episode you are challenged to take one small step that aligns with living life on your own terms. That means you're taking one small step today that aligns with the lifestyle that you most desire. You're taking a step to get you closer to your dreams. You're taking a step to get you closer to where you would like to be in this moment. And I want you to understand that in this moment, you are who you say you are, okay? Until you prove yourself otherwise, you are exactly who you say you are. So if you want to reinvent yourself in this very moment, if you want to say, you know what, this is who I am moving forward, do that. You have the power to do that. That means that you've taken the action today to say, this is who I am, and my life actions align with who I say I am. If you don't want to take action today, that is totally fine too. You do not have to do it. That's the beauty of choice. That's the beauty of living life on your own terms, is making the decisions that you want to make, that you feel are best for you in your life. For those of us who are sick and tired of being sick and tired, for those of us who are ready to take some action today, this one is for you. Okay? I encourage everyone to take some type of action today. You owe it to yourself to steer your life in the direction that you've always wanted to go, and you can do that today. This week, I'd like to discuss the concept of time. So we hear so many things about time. Time is fleeting, it's slow, it waits for no one, it flies when you're having fun, we never have enough of it. Well, time is all of these things and none of these things at the same time. You assign the meaning to time because time is not real. It is an illusion. It is a social construct that we have designed to put everyone on the same type of timeline, right? The sooner that we can accept time for what it is, the better we can interact with it. Maybe you're thinking, what do you mean by time is an illusion, P? I mean that it's not real. Time as we know it today is made up so that we can better interact with one another in the present. Think time zones for a minute, if you will. Collectively, humans exist in different time zones across the world, right? In the US alone, we have like 4 or 5 time zones, not counting the areas that don't even adhere to daylight savings. So there are actually places here in the United States that do not conform to daylight savings time. I'll give you an example. Arizona, they never go forward or go backward. They just continue with time. So that means they jump on other time zones as they go, but they just go straight through, right? The Ethiopian calendar is a 13-month calendar. And based on how they structure their calendar, it makes them 7 to 8 years, quote unquote, behind our time. So if it's 2022 here, you're living in 2022 right now, following their calendar, you'd be experiencing 2014, 2015. Yes, that calendar is still used, though I don't know how widely accepted it is because I am not well versed in that, but I do know that they still utilize that calendar. So traveling to Ethiopia, technically you are in 2015, I think 2015, 2014, 2015, somewhere around there. Does that mean that they are living in the past? No, not at all. They are obviously in the present with us. They're able to communicate with us. They're able to interact with us presently. How they gauge time is different is all. So their concept of time there and how they measure time is different than how we measure time. Essentially, We are all living in the present, but we don't see time as the same. We don't measure time in the same units. We don't have the same timeline. All right, I'll give you another example. Let's say I schedule a brunch with my girlfriends for 10 o'clock on a Saturday morning. That means each of us will look at a clock and a calendar in the present and meet at our destination at that time. Everybody is moving and shaking their own timelines to accommodate one another. We merge our present timelines to connect with one another at the present time. We do what we can to make sure that we can convene at the same time. The time is different, but the time is still now, right? The time is still present. So, whatever meaning you put to time, that's what time is to you. Someone in solitary confinement would have a much different concept of time than someone else who works a 9 to 5. And both of their concepts of time will be much different than someone who doesn't have a 9 to 5 and is free to do whatever they will with the time that they have. What we are overlooking is that innately, everyone's concept of time is different. I have my own timeline. They have their own timelines. You have your own timeline that we all operate off of. We are all born at different times. We all die at different times. So it's not that far-fetched that we all exist in different states of beings at different times. We are not really on the same timeline. Though we are existing together, our timelines are different for ourselves. We aren't programmed to sleep at 9 p.m. and wake up at 7 a.m. That's not how we come out of the womb. We don't come into this world with that same program. If that were so, everyone would do it. Instead, we follow our own internal clocks until we coerce our internal clocks to align with others. All right, this is another example. Think about babies and how they interact with time. This is a perfect example for this, as a matter of fact. New parents especially feel this on a deeper level because they see the baby's timeline working in full capacity. They eat, they sleep, they poop, and repeat it all on their own times. Instead of adapting to the baby's schedule and accommodating them, some parents get very frustrated and want to force their babies to sleep, eat, poop on their schedule. Not on the baby's schedule, but on their schedule. To someone who is used to a forced schedule of sleep, of eating, maybe not a pooping, but a forced schedule for themselves, this is what makes the most sense. We do have other options, though, that may present themselves to be a little less stressful, such as adapting to what the baby needs for the time being. A baby can't help who they are or what they were born into. They are just babies. So seeing a baby as someone who is learning, someone who is growing, someone who doesn't fully understand the concept of time that our world and society has placed on us, we see them and we have a little bit more grace and a little bit more empathy and a little bit more understanding and compassion for what is happening right now. And we don't force ourselves to get all bent over time because we understand and because we see that time is an illusion. We accept that time is an illusion. Sleeping and resting when the baby sleeps. Limiting our mobility during the day to doing what is absolutely necessary. So fuck those dishes, fuck that laundry, do the bare minimum until you can get the support. And not to go down a rabbit hole, I understand the plight of new parents who helplessly and desperately are wanting to make their new babies who know nothing about this world and this society's way of conforming to certain schedules. I can understand why they want to make that schedule. And it all comes down to lack of support. Again, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole today, but it is an excellent example of how time doesn't mean anything until we give time meaning. So that leads me back to this. If states can decide when they want their clocks to fall back and spring forward, if countries can decide what type of calendars they want to embrace, Religions do this too. If humans can be birthed into this world at all times of day and night and die in the same fashion, all times of day, all times of night, why can't you have your own timeline? Why can't you accomplish things in your own timeline? Why can't you learn on your own timeline? Why can't you grow in your own timeline? Why do you have to be where someone else is? Why is that an indication of how far ahead you are or how far behind you are? Why can't life be happening in your time? The point of it all is to understand that we were not put on this earth to experience it on the same timelines as others. We all have different timelines. So when we say we don't have time, it's not really about time at all. It's about comparing ourselves, our current states of being, to someone else's timeline. We all have time and appropriately have made decisions of our own that have led us to this very moment right here, right now. Where I am on my timeline, you are not, and vice versa. But guess what? That is okay. Accept that your timeline is yours and that no one can speed up or slow down what's happening in your life but you. You are the timekeeper, and as the timekeeper, you hold the power to decide what you will do with your time, which leads me to today's action. All right. Today's action is to make time for what you want in your life. The years, the months, the days, they don't matter so much. None of that really matters. What can you do today to make time for what you want? Eventually, the time will lapse. When you look back in your past, you see that time has lapsed, right? Some things that have happened in your life that happened before this moment, right? That's what our memories are telling us. Something happened before this moment. So, why not in this moment make the something that you want to happen happen? That's the focus. That's where we start. Some time is better than no time. So let's say that you have what we call 10 minutes. We look at 10 minutes based on our clocks. You have 10 of those. What will you fill that time with? Say in your life you want to exercise more. You want to get more movement in for the day. Okay, bet. Those 10 minutes can be used to walk, to run, to bike, to dance, to complete some high intensity interval training, to jump rope, etc. You can do that within those 10 minutes. Well, that's not a lot of time. Who said that's not a lot of time? You are making that conclusion about time. But for someone who's done zero in the past, 10 minutes is time. Time to do what you say you're going to do. It may not seem like a lot of time, but that 10 minutes is better than zero of doing absolutely nothing. All you're required to do today is make the time and start. That's it. You start somewhere, you get somewhere. You stay still, you move nowhere. So that 10 minutes is better than nothing. 2 minutes is better than nothing. 1 minute is better than nothing. Starting that book, reading that book, even if it's just a couple pages a night, it's better than not reading that book at all. You said you wanted to read it, make the time to read it. And this is how you know that time is an illusion, because sitting 10 minutes in meditation is a completely different experience than watching TV for 10 minutes. It's not the time that matters the most. We put the most importance on time when the most important thing is that we are doing it and we are committing ourselves to the action that we say we want to do. So, action doesn't just stop today. We take action a little step further. So over the course of the week, continue dedicating time intervals to yourself to do what needs to be done in your life. You'll find that activities such as journaling, meditation, reciting affirmations, by the way, we are still doing those, slowing down, all of the stuff that you said you don't have time for, you do have time for. The question is, are you willing to make time for it? If you are, do it. Do what you say you're going to do. All right, I'm taking a pause here. but I'm coming back. So make sure you stay into the end. I want you to know that show notes for this episode can be found on adailydoseofdope.com, adailydoseofdope.com. Join us, become a member of the community. Every single day we are sending out text messages. I send out emails that encourages you and inspires you and energizes you to live life on your own terms. Every single day, that's what we're doing. And I would love for you to be a part of that community so that you can get that encouragement, so that you can continue to see that this is the motivation I need to keep going. Someone else is in this with me. I'm not in this by myself. All right, so adailydoseofdope.com. Join us, become a member, start there. Invest in yourself, okay? My final thoughts are this. Time is what you make it. We are all experiencing time our way. We are healing, we are grieving, we are forgiving, we are getting into new relationships, we are forsaking old ones, we are finding out about ourselves on a deeper level, we are learning new information. All of these things we are doing on our own timelines. That's why common sense isn't common sense, because if it were common, everyone would know it and everyone would be doing it at the same time. We all learn at different rates and experience life in different time intervals. So give yourself grace as you navigate through this world. Extend empathy to others as they journey through life. Allow yourself to be present in this moment and exist in your timeline while extending that same courtesy to others. We are exactly where we need to be right now. Now is the time. What will you do with the present? I want to thank you for taking the time today to show up and to be here. Thank you for listening and learning. And most importantly, I want to thank you for being you. I'll see you in the next episode. For more dope messages, be sure to visit adailydoseofdope.com and become a member. Also, cop your dope merch at deardopechick.com and follow us on all of our social media at Dear Dope Chick, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Thank you so much for listening, and as always, be you, be dope. Love, P.